So today I have a really interesting watch to show you guys with a very interesting sort of inspiration behind it. It also has a pretty interesting name. It is called the Spinnaker Piccard. It's named after Jacques Piccard, one of the people who actually manned a bathyscaphe. If you're not familiar with a bathyscaphe, it's basically a manned submarine or submersible boat. And it went down to the deepest point on Earth in the ocean. It was also manned with Don Walsh, who was another person who was in the boat with him in the actual submarine. And it went down to the deepest point on Earth. On the outside of this bathyscaphe, there was a watch that was strapped to the hull. That was a Rolex Deep Sea Special. And that is what this watch takes its inspiration from. And I have to say, it is pretty cool. I love a watch that is big for a reason, and this is got a reason behind why it is very large, and it is very large, and they've actually improved on the design a little bit, in my opinion. Also, that original Rolex Deep Sea Special, not the best looking watch in the world, but a very interesting looking watch. They actually made a different version of this, I think a little while ago, that was Swiss powered and Swiss made, maybe even, I don't remember. But if that's the case, I'll put a link down below to that watch as well. I don't think that's for sale anymore either, but this one is actually for sale today, and I think delivering on February 4th. So it just comes with Spinnaker Piccard, manual there, and then of course a warranty card, and of course the watch. So it gets a huge domed sapphire crystal. It's the first thing that you're going to notice, and it's definitely a direct inspiration from that Rolex Deep Sea Special. You will see I'll throw up pictures of that watch. It's actually very domed, actually probably a little bit more domed than this. This is, as I mentioned, a sapphire crystal. This is one substantial watch. You get 550 meters of water resistance. Obviously, if this was a 200 meter water resistant watch, it would not make sense. So 550 meters definitely makes sense. Everything on this watch feels more substantial than your everyday watch. The crown, let's just do a measurement of this crown. It is enormous. 9.3 millimeters, 9.4 millimeters. One of the largest crowns that I've had on the channel. It's extremely grippy, very easy to use. Literally, if you have gloves on, this is very easy to use. Pops out really nicely. NH35, you have a date there at the 3 o'clock, so powered by the Seiko NH35. So it's actually much more affordable than its predecessor, which was Swiss powered. And then the case. The case is enormous. It's very, very chunky, but at the same time, it's wearable. I'm going to show you in a minute. But the dimensions are 45 millimeters. Now, really not that bad considering the size and the dimension of this watch. The thickness is big because of that very, very domed sapphire crystal. It is basically a solid piece of sapphire crystal. It's almost 20 millimeters, 20.9 millimeters thick, as you can see, 20.8 millimeters thick. A lot of that has that sapphire crystal, but the case itself is very, very thick in and of itself, so 15 millimeters thick alone just on the case. Probably around 16 millimeters thick if I can get it on the top of that, the actual bezel, which actually sort of slopes up towards that crystal, which makes sense. Then you have a little triangle on here. It's in green. I believe this is ceramic. And then you have a green dial with applied indices. It just says Spinnaker. And then it tells you the depth rating there down below. You have these big hands. Everything is sort of plussed up on this watch. The bracelet is sort of a president style bracelet. It is thick and big. It is really a chunky bracelet on here. It is very nice. And the buckle I think is the only thing that sort of isn't in line with the rest of the watch. It's just your typical micro brand buckle. I mean, it works. It's reliable. It works well. You have a fold out, a diver's extension here, which is pressed. Nothing too crazy. You only get 3 positions of micro adjust. I wish it had a little bit nicer of a buckle. That's the only thing that I think is sort of lacking on this watch when you're considering the styling of the watch. You have a big screwed-in case back that is nice and thick, and it has a really nice sort of polished / bead blasted case back, and you have a little picture of or carving of the bathyscaphe, which looks really good. Just incredible. And the Lug To Lug on here, forgot to do that very quickly. The Lug To Lug on here is 51.6 or 50 point, excuse me, am I getting this right? There, 52 millimeters. You do get female end links, but those female end links don't bend all the way down, so you're getting an effective Lug To Lug of about 55.8 millimeters, somewhere around there. They do go straight down, so it's not going to be that big of an issue. However, obviously, you're not going to have a small wrist if you are buying one of these. You also get a helium escape valve. It says that on the chapter ring of the dial. I'll do close-ups of that so you can see. Sign crown, really big etching in here, very smooth, feels very nice. $555, I think, is what they're charging for this. And it's definitely a heavily engineered watch. This thing weighs an insane amount. Just the bracelet alone with these big milled end links, and the links itself, all solid links, very, very heavy. And then, of course, that case. But the sapphire crystal, you would be surprised, adds a ton of weight to watches, and this is actually a lot. Let's listen to the bezel action. It is literally insane. It's very, very, very good. Listen to this. I have dry hands. It is very easy to grip. It does sit pretty high off the case, as you can see. Very easy to grip, very easy to operate. Really very good bezel action. Actually, some of the best bezel action that I have felt on a watch. It's really good. Especially at the $550 price point. I think that's really incredible. So very quickly, let me throw it on my wrist. And then let's do a loom shot, because I am not sure how the loom is on this watch. I'm sure that it's pretty good, considering that they went the extra mile with everything else. Maybe just the clasp is the only thing that they didn't really upgrade. So very quickly, let me throw it on my wrist and we'll do a loom shot. But before I do, today I am wearing my bathyscaphe, and I wore that because I am doing a video about a watch that is sort of inspired by a watch that was strapped to a bathyscaphe and went down to a very deep area in the ocean. Very cool. And, you know, these are made by Blancpain, the 50 Fathoms, basically light. This is a skin diver, and that's where they use the name bathyscaphe. This does not get a screw-down crown. This is a vintage watch, obviously, made by Blancpain for Waltham. It's a private label watch, and it's essentially a clone of the bathyscaphe from 1960, somewhere around there. Just the name was changed on the dial and sold in the United States. That's the only difference. And there you go. So, very quickly, I do not have this watch size for my wrist, but I will be sizing it and wearing this watch because it's pretty incredible. This is really just a substantial watch. If I ever go diving, this is the watch I'm going to choose because it is pretty incredible. I do a lot of desk diving. This is pretty heavy. You'll definitely build a muscle in your arm if you wear this. Pretty significant watch. So I have a 7.5 inch wrist. Like I said, it's a 45 millimeter watch. It's about 20 millimeters thick. That's including that domed sapphire crystal. Looks really interesting from the side profile. I'll do a lot of photos of that. Very thick and heavy bracelet on here. Really cool. So very quickly, loom shot, and then we'll wrap up the video. So loom, really good, very nicely applied, very liberally applied to the hands and indices. Looks very good. You even get that triangle there for orientation in the dark, sort of a bi-color setup, so the hands are a little bit different from the indices, so it looks a little bit different in the dark. Really nicely done. They did a very good job with this watch, executing it and giving you something a little bit different because you get that rotating bezel. The original did not. Obviously, the Rolex Special, the Deep Sea Special, did not have a rotating bezel. This does. So that's pretty cool, and it gives it a little bit of a different look. Obviously, a very different look from that original, but it's definitely inspired. So not an homage, or maybe an homage you can call it. It takes inspiration from it, but they've done it their own way, which is nice to see that. 550 meters of water resistance helium escape. Just a chunky, oversized watch if you're interested in that. This is pretty cool and very significant. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. $550, $555 for something that is kind of special, really out of the ordinary. I think it's not a bad price. If your wrist can pull it off, obviously this is not going to be for everybody. Not a lot of people are going to be able to pull this off because of one reason, your wrist size. If you have a very small wrist, there's no reason, there's no way that you can actually put this on your wrist and feel comfortable, because it will be very heavy and hurt your wrist and move around. But if you have a larger wrist like mine, I have a 7.5 inch wrist, this definitely works, and I think it looks good on me. But tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.